Hey, this is Lady, and today I am here to talk about my experience at the Omar Tyree book signing for his latest book, All Access. If you don't know, Omar Tyree is the author of 28 books. His books would fall under the genre of urban fiction or street literature. His most famous book is Fly Girl, which later became a series with two other books. I really enjoyed Fly Girl when I was young. I'm sure many women when they were young enjoyed that book. It is a very popular book. I've heard it be compared to kind of like the character Tracy in Fly Girl, compare her to Winter in The Coldest Winter Ever, but I think Tracy has a little more sense than Winter did. But he is like the father of this urban fiction genre, and we know it has spent off into so much like street literature, and it gets a bad rep nowadays, but when he does, he writes so well, and I have enjoyed plenty of his books. That he signed and came to talk about was this one, All Access. It says, when our real lives become the biggest act. And this one is a take on current events and how gossip blogs and columns and celebrity news is just taking over reality TV, and that's what this one is supposed to be about. I believe it follows a journalist who she leads a normal regular life, but she gets wrapped up in some things, and it takes place in Atlanta. After I read it, I will come back for sure and give you all my thoughts on it. I now want to show you a few clips. One where he's talking about his urban literacy program, another one where he's talking about Fly Girl, and another clip where he is reading from All Access. I hope you all enjoy these clips. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.
By having writer's block all the time. Why? Because you block yourself from thinking. And that's why you have writer's block. I never have writer's block because I'm always expressing myself in some form or another. Right? And if you don't want to hear what I have to say, don't ask me a question. I'm one of them people. Because I'm not going to say nothing. I'm going to say exactly what's on my mind. If you can't handle it, you better close your ears. Okay? And that's what happens to expressive, creative people. Okay? Geniuses will say what's on their mind, whether you like it or not, because they are used to expressing themselves. And once we get our children to get used to expressing themselves, their aptitude for intelligence and creative ideas and just progress will jump sky high. But as long as we keep allowing them to say nothing, they're going to be in that cool pose where nothing happens. Okay? That's the third component. Fourth component, visualization. We're talking about Urban Literacy Project now on my website. Visualization, the ability to see past, present, and future through words and ideas. And so what that happens is we have something called a vocabulary. We have to know what the words mean first. If we don't know what they mean, then we don't see anything. Okay? And so when we were kids, we all had that toy that had the little string and the pointer. And we pull that string, and the pointer would spin around and point to an animal. This is a cow. Moo. And we pull that string, and it spin around and point to a cat. This is a cat. Meow. And we pull that string. And so the animal had an illustration, it had the spelling, and it had the sound. Therefore, when we hear the word cat, we know what it looks like, what it sounds like, and how to spell it. And that's how kids learn. We have to have the vision. But if you don't have a vocabulary and you try to read a book, you don't know what's going on in there. Nothing pops in your head. This is what happens to illiterate people. They don't have a vocabulary, and so they're reading things. They don't know what's going on, so they close the book and say, I don't like it. Yeah, because you don't know what's going on in the book. Okay? And so vocabulary is highly important, being able to see what these words mean. That's why they have illustrations all over the kids' schools up to about the 3rd or 4th grade. Because they have to see what it is we're talking about and then encode it in this brain that's called a brain. all that stuff that came out, you know, I'm 46 now. They call us old school now. You know, in Philadelphia, we got old heads and young bucks. We got new school and old school. So I'm old school now, you know, but I grew up in that era of hip hop, and we had girls that we call fly girls who wanted to elevate above everybody else by wearing the gold and the hair and the clothes and the Gucci purses, and they had a whole lot of guys going out doing negative things to get them money so they can go fly. And so we had a whole lot of people getting in trouble for materialism in the 1980s. But that was a part of our era. And so I wrote a book about it. When I wrote a book about it and people read it with the language that was our language, the times that was our times, the music that was our music, people were blown away. Oh my God, somebody captured this in the book. Yes, because I'm a visionary who thinks and could write and wanted to get it out there instead of giving you nothing. And so that book became a legendary bestseller book that inspired all these new readers and all these new writers. That was the first book a lot of these urban folks ever read. They talk about it all the time. That was the first book I ever read outside of regular school. And I said, wow. And so this book is branded and started this whole new genre. Now I call my stuff urban classics. And I use the word urban because that was the code word for black. You know, you call it urban radio. Top urban, you know. So I said, okay, that means black. I'm going to use that term for black. So I use urban for my books, urban classics. Okay? Then they took urban classics and added that street word to it. But I was a college graduate and an educated dude, so I wasn't putting that street. My character was black and urban, but I ain't like that street. They don't live on the street. They may get involved in street stuff, but they still go to a house. And so I wanted, but you had harder people, prison jail people were writing books now, and they wanted to put this extra harder edge on it, urban street lit. And then they threw away the whole urban word, then it became street lit. They don't even say literature, it's street lit. Right? They don't even say the whole word. You know, so I'm like, oh, I feel like the man that created the monster Frankenstein. Because it started from that root of Fly Girl, but now we have a Fly Girl movie about to be made next year. And that allows me another opportunity to push everything that I stand for with the Urban Literacy Project, the entrepreneurship, the branded name, and the community of the urban culture, being able to put it down. And so all access now, I'm going to read from this, but this book here, I wanted to put out to be a current writer again, because we have my friend Zane, who has been writing sexual revolution books for the last 15 years. And we've been reading those, and we have these young urban gangster wannabes. They're writing books now. They're not gangsters to be writing books, but they're writing about all these gangsters and thugs in the books. And then we still have Christian fiction that's still there. And so now we have basically 3 genres of fiction that we have in our community. Sex books, what they call black erotica, street lit, and Christian lit is still there. We no longer have our science fiction. We don't have horror. We don't have mystery. We don't really have a lot of autobiographies. We don't have, and so we just have 3 books. As I say, man, I want to bring out different types of books, different subjects that we don't just relate to, we can discover or think about. That's what all the books we used to have. We can have a whole lot of different writing. And so I wanted to bring that back with this book, All Access. So this book is about a young woman who's a broadcast journalist who gets to interview a guy who's always getting in trouble. And when he gets in trouble and she's interviewing him rather, she ends up getting in the trouble that he gets in. And she has a regular family, a husband, 2 kids. And so when you start getting into crazy stuff that you can't handle, all kind of stuff come out. And so I'm going to read a chapter where, just to give you a piece of what can happen. Where are you going, Mom? I thought you said today was cleanup day. Marlon Jr. asked his mother after an hour of cleaning up their house on a Saturday afternoon. Judy was dressed and ready to head out the door, but they were only halfway cleaning up their house. And they hadn't cleaned that much and feverishly since the end of summer. I have to make a run, boy, she informed her older son. He didn't need to know more information than that. It was grown folks' business, and she was heading out to handle it. So she headed out to the backyard to tell her husband, who was blowing leaves and collecting several hefty trash bags. It was a tedious, all-day process. But under the circumstances, Marlon didn't mind it. It allowed him to focus on something other than his wife Alexandria, his co-workers, and all the crazy mess that he had gotten himself involved in. I need to make a run, Judy said to him. Marlon stopped what he was doing and looked over at her confused. What, something came up? Yeah, something came up, she answered with a nod. That was all he needed to know, too. Marlon backed down and mumbled, all right. I hope you're not about to do nothing crazy, are you? He wanted to ask her, but he didn't. He had no idea what was on her mind. He just didn't trust her. Nevertheless, he was still in hot water with his wife over what had happened recently, so he couldn't question her. And so he let his apprehensions go. Judy marched out the front door, climbed into her car, and hit the road toward Georgia Tech's campus in downtown Atlanta. Probably won't even find this girl down there. She mumbled as she drove through the clear and sunny weather. It looked like I needed to check out a private investigator to find this girl and see why she wrote that nonsense article about me. With a bunch of questions and ideas on her mind and no home football or basketball game to jam up the traffic in Atlanta, she got downtown quicker than she expected. And then she got kind of nervous once she hit Georgia Tech's campus. What if I actually find this girl and she acts a fool in there and tries to write something else about me? Judy wondered in a panic. Determined to at least try, she headed back to this Greek cafe where she first bumped into this blogger, Yellow Girl 1. The perfect restaurant was not crowded as it had been during the weekdays when the students were inside eating at lunchtime, so it was easy to identify everybody sitting inside their booths on a weekend. And when Judy spotted the colorfully dressed girl in plain view sitting in the booth to the far right, she froze and panicked again. Oh my God, she's here. What's the chance of that? Unbelievable. She was so shocked to find a girl sitting there that she spun around and was attempted to leave and avoid the girl. Then she calmed herself down. Okay, just keep your cool. You're a professional. You came here to ask her a few questions, so just stay professional. Just stay professional with it. The young woman was so much into her laptop as she sat there eating her salad inside the booth that she never even saw Judy coming. I hope you're not writing another article about me. Judy cracked and took a seat across from the girl. Yellow Girl 1 looked up from her usual writing spot at the cafe, saw who it was, and jumped back. Shucks, what do you want? What are you here for? She asked defensively. Judy smiled and said, calm down, girl. I just came here to talk to you. Well, I'm not writing about you anymore, okay? Yellow Girl 1 responded, looking around nervously. Good, unless you want to retract what you already wrote. That would be nice. Judy couldn't help herself. The opportunity to ask for a retraction was perfect. Yellow Girl 1 looked around the restaurant again and appeared ready to flee. Either that or she was looking for witnesses. I mean, I only asked a question in my article, she stated. It's my right of free speech to do that. But like I said, I'm not going to write about you anymore. So you can just leave me alone. Well, why did you write about me in the first place? Requan, Judy pressed her, using her real name. Did someone tell you to do that? Was it an assignment from the ATLheat.com? Were you paid to write that nonsense about me? It looks like you eating well. It looks like you dressing well for a college student in here. Judy's journalism and research skills were on full display, but it was more of an interrogation than an interview. Obviously, the young woman was rattled and appeared ready to flee. So Judy didn't expect her to answer any of her questions. She just wanted the girl to know who she was dealing with and know what she had gotten herself involved in. Oh my God, I knew I should have just stayed home today instead of coming out here, Yellow Girl 1 reflected. I knew she would be after me. She's crazy. Yeah, whatever, she responded to Judy while frantically grabbing her things to leave. I don't see you badgering the National Urban Report about what they published about you. Everyone attacks the little guys. You're just so typical, coming after me instead of going after the big publisher.